Hi guys, let's tune in. So, this is my first one off lesson, as in whatever God tells me to talk about, I will just make a quick short video on. But I wanted to talk about what a spiritual awakening is very quickly. First of all, a spiritual awakening can be caused by many different factors, being a loss or a heartbreak, a traumatic situation, a near death situation, psychedelics, right? There's different reasons why one would finally wake up. And that can either be attempted by you, which I don't recommend because let's just be real, when you are waking up, you have to do a lot of internal work, change a lot about your life, and that is not an easy experience to go through, whether you're ready for it or not. So I would just let life do it for you, but let's talk about what it is specifically. And this is just from my own experience, and after doing research on all of the videos I've done, I think I've come with a pretty good explanation, which is we've talked about thoughts and beliefs before, right? And a belief is just something you've thought your whole life, and now it's true. We've used the example before as in religion. Depending on where you grew up, most likely you believe in whatever everybody around you believes. Not maybe because you would have chose that on your own, but because it was something you heard long enough before you had free will. And chances are everyone you know also believes the same thing, so it would be extremely hard to change. And the whole point of bringing up a belief, which doesn't have to be specifically related to religion, right? What do I believe about the world? What do I believe about being a woman, about being Black, about being Hispanic, right? Those beliefs are going to affect the way that I live my life, and these same things for you. So, a spiritual awakening is essentially where a belief is now brought to the surface. Because remember, a belief lives in the subconscious. That subconscious material running in the background that is affecting your life, you're just not aware of it, has now been brought face to face with you. And you have to make a decision. And what is that decision? Am I taking on this new information and applying it, changing my life, changing my habits, my environment, XYZ? Or am I sticking with my old life and probably being unhappy with it because of that new information I know? I just haven't wanted to adopt into my new paradigm. I think this is why a lot of people can go through isolation during their spiritual awakening, because they're doing this reflection between that old belief and the new one. Because think about it, if you've gone your whole life without being challenged of a specific belief, and now you are confronted so clearly that it's like, well, what does this mean? Were all of the experiences I've ever experienced not experiences? Right? Like you're like, where was I in a bubble? Was I in the Truman Show? Like, what is actually going on here? And yes, you were. No, figure it out for yourself. But bringing that information to the forefront, it sounds so simple, maybe me saying it, but when you are actually presented with that information and have to take action on it in order to live the life in alignment with that new belief, that's it takes a lot of bravery to step into the new reality. So again, in terms of, we talked about beliefs before in terms of manifestation and making sure that what we're manifesting is in alignment with our beliefs, because so many of us are unaware of our beliefs to begin with. And that's why, since we're unaware, because it's in the subconscious, when it actually gets confronted, comes to our conscious awareness, it can feel like this awakening. It is an awakening because we're awakened to new information, and it's so contradicting from what we knew before that it's like, excuse me, where was this my whole life, right? And it leads you down a rabbit hole of tons of questions you really have to ask yourself and decisions you have to make. So I believe that the awakening doesn't have to be as extreme if you are constantly trying to work with your subconscious. Now, of course, working with it and bringing those bits and pieces of information that have been dormant are still going to be jarring, but in comparison to a life-threatening experience or traumatic experience, at least you can kind of regulate the environment in which you actually are able to confront that, right? Because I would almost argue that, a spiritual awakening, something needed to wake up. And if you weren't waking up on your own, then life needed to wake you up. And through one of those methods of actually triggering it within you is the way to get the job done. And, my own spiritual awakening was a bit traumatic, to be honest. But when I really dove into the situation, it was like, well, I've been in other traumatic situations before, but it was this specific traumatic situation because there were more uncontrollables involved that made it even more traumatic, if that makes sense. So, I don't know, I started this off with saying maybe we shouldn't trigger our own spiritual awakenings, and the point is trigger, right? It's more like dip your toe into it so that you are being the force that is driving your life for those listening to the energy lessons versus needing something outside of you to change your life. Just choose to change, and at least choose to be open enough to not only explore your subconscious mind and your beliefs, but open enough to be receiving new information, because each time you do, whether that's from a book, music, travel, you're going to be confronting old information with new information. And the better you get at that comparison, at that confrontation, at that dis-ease, and just working with, hey, what do I think about this? What do I feel about this? When I take action on these two different bits of information, these two different paradigms, which one feels more like me, like my truth? And again, oftentimes, even those beliefs, right? Let's take the religion. If you decided to change your religion and everybody you know is a specific one, that's really going to be hard. That's probably boundaries you're going to have to place, and maybe ridicule you'll have to face. It's not always a fun experience to live in your truth, but I would argue that it's worth it. I mean, it's always worth being yourself, right? But the more you are in alignment with yourself and your own truth, then you will find people that also allow you to be in that truth. And then you're being yourself with people around you that are also in alignment with it, and it feels really fucking good, and you're not hiding anymore or pretending to be happy or content. And I know I'm thinking about a Bible verse of contentment, but I believe that we should know how to be that in different situations, but we should strive for happiness all the time. Why not? If that's what you say you want. But anyway, authenticity, right? Authenticity is the highest frequency. and you can manifest your dreams and your new reality, but you're only going to become your authentic self by confronting yourself. And I think this is where a lot of people maybe have it twisted, because we can be, I always thought I was being my authentic self. Like, this is who I am. But if so many aspects of the self live within the subconscious and you've never explored it because it's hidden from you, how can you say you're being your authentic self if you haven't even met all of the parts of yourself? If you've never challenged your beliefs or even gone back and, again, with our religious texts, actually read your text or lived by it. We're saying we believe in so many things. That's a lens that we're seeing the world through that's preventing us from taking certain action steps because that's not in alignment with my belief. And again, this is just the confrontation, something from your subconscious coming to the forefront. So even more than that belief being challenged, which I'd still probably argue, I'd say it's that subconscious material coming face to face with your consciousness, and that can feel very jarring. And take it slow as you go through this process. And I'll repeat what I said in a previous lesson I've done, which is that isolation is so helpful, and not forever, but once you understand what you believe, what your energy feels like, what you think about, what emotions you naturally have, then anything that is confronting that, anything that is entering your energetic field, you immediately know when that is not you. You have to be able to know thyself. And how can you know thyself if you've never spent time with thyself? So, yeah. I hope this helped you. And if you're going through a spiritual awakening, feel free to join the channel to hopefully get some tips and tricks along the way. But also know I'm coming out with something to help you very, very soon. And talk to you later, Gators. Stay tuned in. Bye.